I was putting on a hat.
Okay, welcome to
Hello.
Civ Wars, Episode 3,
Yes.
Revenge of the Sibs.
Episode I.
Episode I am going to take a shot for St. Patrick's Day.
What are you shotting of?
Cheers.
Van Gogh vodka double espresso, given to me by my elderly. It's free Van Gogh vodka. It has double espresso in it, and it was given to me by my neighbor Paul, and I'm pointing towards his direction as if anybody knows other than us. Who passed out on the garage floor and had to have 911 to call him and pick him up after drinking too much of this. So.
Cheers!
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'll take a shot of my boosted green drink that I'm drinking.
That stuff is so not good for you.
Really? I don't care. It's delicious.
No, just make your own.
Yeah.
I remember I tried that once, and it made me not do pleasant womanly things later.
Yeah, I guess if the Osterizer doesn't get any use in this house anyways, that would give me an excuse to use it. Anyways.
All right.
Moving on top.
Here we are.
And I will admit, since it is St. Patrick's Day, I'm a little tipsy. That was my 5th shot.
Okay.
Oh, duh, stupid me. Okay, so.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Newly doted.
Newly doted.
That's a good one.
All right, we're going to do a quick run of the numbers from last weekend, even though it's Thursday, but let's go really fast through it. Number 1 was Zootopia, which I haven't seen yet. The kids want to see it, so I'll probably take it to it soon.
Yes.
Number 2 was 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh,
want to see it.
I really want to see it.
I want to see it too.
Looks good.
Number 3, Deadpool, yet again.
Okay.
Deadpool
What's the total so far?
U.S. is over 330 million.
Very nice.
It's now surpassed Iron Man, the first Iron Man.
Okay.
And something else pretty big. I couldn't remember the other one. Number 4, hanging in there, London Has Fallen.
Okay. It's still staying in the top.
You know what? Good for Gerard Butler. I really like Gerard Butler.
Yes.
Me too.
As we know from previous Sib Wars, but good for him. He deserves it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Phantom of the Opera movie, which he was in and actually played the Phantom. He also had a rock and roll band for a while. He was a struggling actor for a very long time, struggling musician, I'm sorry, and he fell into acting. And so anytime he can have some success, even with shitty movies, which didn't have success, This Is Not Sparta movie.
Well, no, but it's been in the top 5 consistently for 3 weekends in a row now, at least.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great for him, and obviously there must be something good about it, because to stay there for that long with the movies that are out, that people, some kind of word of mouth thing is going on where people are like, look, this is a really good movie. Go see it. It's worth watching.
And number 5.
Number 5 is Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Good for Tina. What does it gross U.S.? Because we were talking about. I was thinking it would definitely make its money back, and you Justin, were saying no.
We were
I said
a little
worldwide,
skeptical.
yes.
It's still not there. It's budget was 35 mil, and it's pulled in 14 to date.
Worldwide?
No, this is just. I only do the U.S. numbers. The worldwide numbers.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. It will make it back worldwide. I think we can safely say it will make it back.
I don't know.
I think that I bet you a lot of people, you know what, I'm going to write this down for shits and giggles, and I was just starting to write shits and giggles, which might be a good name for a segment at some point in time, but I think it'll do well in the Middle East and in Asia.
I don't think so. I don't think a woman-led comedy is going to do well in the Middle East at all.
All right. Well, for myself, I am going to see when they release it worldwide.
I couldn't say one way or another whether
and Middle East.
I
think that we have such a. I'm not going to get into politics, but I think we just have like a different view of like the entirety of the Middle East I think that it's going to do well. So I am going to write that down for, should be worldwide by next week.
We'll have to see what happens with that.
Right. All right.
I say, let's jump right in.
We were debating, Amy, whether or not to skip headlines and just go into the war this week.
Especially because, we spent a good chunk of time on just headlines last week. I have a feeling that this war is going to take up a chunk of time as well. Close to not quite 60 minutes of time, but,
Well, yeah. I mean,
we started earlier than we're half an hour earlier than we generally do. I vote nay, but if I'm overruled, I'm overruled, which is why I specifically sent you the text, Justin, to pull up that.
I've got the thing ready to go.
Right.
But is there a specific thing you wanted, like a specific segment of that video? Because it's a 13-minute video.
Exactly, which is why I also said that I have the timestamps of what to look at. So I thought if you pull it up just for the very beginning, because this is big. Why I wanted to tie this in and also is because, if we're doing Sib Wars and we're doing geek stuff, gaming is a huge part of geekdom. We're all fans of gaming, even though we're not huge gamers anymore. I myself, as a wheelchair user, I feel like I have even more invested in virtual reality for what it can bring to me in a physical experience of what I can't experience in a wheelchair. And this system is by HTC. I'm just going to start talking. You had it pulled up before, Justin, but your Facebook is up now. There you go. You're fine right there. And remember, keep it in small screen, but let me just do something. The reason why I especially wanted to pull this up today was because it was either today or yesterday that Sony, for PlayStation, has now announced their own virtual reality headset system, much like the Oculus Rift. It is going to be on sale October 2016. They're giving it a base price of $399, $499, but that is after some research I did just for the visor. It does not, if you already don't have those silly little Kinect remotes, you don't get that, so it doesn't come with controls. That's going to be an add-on. It also doesn't come with any kind of camera. That's going to be a $60 add-on to that.
Yeah, it's a pretty expensive buy.
It is an expensive buy. Hold on, Alex. It is an expensive buy when you're doing it as an add-on for a system. So if you already have PlayStation and you're adding this on, you're talking about close to probably close to $700 for the entire system to get the controls, the camera, the visor. If you don't have a PS4, then you're fucked. You can't use it anyway. I don't even know what a PS4 costs anymore, but I think it's around...
It's around the same... That's what I was asking. It's around the same prices as the visor itself. So you're not talking about... If you don't have a PS4, that's over $1,000 in just hardware.
Right. And the thing is that it will not go with any games under... I think it's 60 frames per second or more, even. 60 frames per second, I think it's 60 frames per second at the least, potentially more. Now the system, this here, why no one sees Justin's face right now, is a video I sent them of a YouTuber / gamer that I subscribe to. His name is Jacksepticeye. He's from Ireland. And the system for this is called the HTC Vive. And you do not need anything else. The entire system, you can pre-order now. It is pricey, but in comparison of like what we were just talking about, it's $800. And you get, listen to everything you get. You get the headset. You get 2 wireless controllers. You get 2 base stations. And what base station means in this sense, why I want you to watch the very beginning of this, is 2 cameras. So those are 2 cameras, the headset, 2 wireless controllers, link box, earbuds, accessories, and content to play.
Mm-hmm.
For $800 on its own. So now, Justin, if you just to show you quickly how it is set up, and again, we're sorry we don't get, and it doesn't, honestly, I don't think matter, but we don't get volume when we play videos for some reason on here, and we cannot go full screen as well. So Justin, if you just hit play on Jack's video, you will be able to see how it is set up. What is moving around now is the world that he's about to be immersed in. He has the headset on his head, obviously, and he's pointing out to you that you have the cameras. So there's one directly behind him, and there's one that he also set up elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So what the Vive does is completely immerse you. You don't have to be sitting. You are in the entire world. You can move around. Your base of existence within the world is limited to where you place these base stations or cameras. The system will automatically pick up where the walls are in the room that you have set up. So it knows if you're walking into a wall, it will show you walking into a wall in the virtual reality system that you're playing with. Those are the hand tools that he is holding up that come with the system. Right. And if you go ahead and fast forward now to minute 4, you'll get a bit of an idea of what it will look like and what he is immersed in at this point in time. So this is basically a tutorial that he's going through showing him how to do certain things. And now here's the main part. I don't know if anyone here has ever played Portal.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this Portal?
This is one of the robots from Portal. And as you can see from Jack's reaction, which unfortunately, like you could see him because he didn't expect him to be what he is saying at this point in the video, and why he's taken aback is because he didn't expect him to be this large. He had no expectation of what he was fully being immersed in. And so what the system is telling him to do now is to pull it out and repair it. So as you can see, the entire... Exactly.
That's very cool.
You can get down to now what he is doing right now. He's completely blown away at this moment in time because of the detail of everything that you can see and do and touch and feel in this.
What I'd really like to is there a part in the video where it shows him walking through the environment?
Right. That was going to be
more in the world. Yes, there is. After he does this little.
Because that's been the big thing with the VR systems has been, if you've seen any of the footage from any of the Consumer Electronics shows or some of the other conventions where they've been displaying this type of technology, usually what they show somebody walking on is this. There's this variable circle treadmill. That's right. A multi-directional treadmill, so that you're like in this, and you're in a ring, so you can't walk off of it. So it'll slide to the left, to the right, forward, backwards, whichever, so you can walk through the environment. So I'm curious how, like, can he leave this room?
That's what is about to happen. You can, I think, maybe do a minute or so further because what happens here, it doesn't really allow him to fix the robot, and what it will do is open up and show you the vastness of the world that lies beneath the door that the Portal character came through. Again, you can walk as within the boundary. Now watch the floor completely, and he has see he's scared now because he has a fear of heights. Because when he looks down, there's nothing there but complete infinity feeling under your feet. So he's cowering himself in the corner, begging for the floor to come back. because he's afraid of heights. And now here is the whole world. And he says that this character, when it comes to your face, that is as big as the front of a car, is how he saw it within the VR system. Which so what he's doing now, he's ducking, he's looking around. He doesn't know that he's in a corner right now, but the thing is, the game knows. Not the game, the system knows, which is why there are 2 cameras and where they tell you to base them within your room. So you can fully walk around your entire room and be within. This is just a demo this is one of the demos that are sent along with the system to give you an idea.
It seems like the game is catered around that kind of
but it's like the game is rebuilding the room right now.
You can only do it in the one room. So they make the game as such so that when you unlock an achievement or whatever he did, the game moves around you. Like, that guy can't play a game and walk through the entire real world as if he was walking through with a joystick in a regular RPG kind of game.
You can walk through the limits, the boundaries of your physical room. Now, how far, you could just see, like, by his face, like...
Right.
And this is, this is a gamer with 9 million... subscribers.
Followers.
He is a huge fan of virtual reality, was one of the first to do the Oculus Rift games and stuff. You can see pretty good now right behind him. That's one of the base cameras behind him there on his...
No, he pointed it out.
So you put another one on the room, and that's how the game detects where you can stop and start, where your physical boundaries are. Yes, there are games that you can do that are not this particular demo, where you can move through the entire game. If you're more interested in this, you can go on to the HTC site where they show you more things at a later time if you want to try something for next week just to look for yourselves. But this is truly, truly cutting edge stuff.
Truly, truly outrageous in me.
As is Gem, as is this. And I thought, like, geekery-wise, I thought you two would find it extremely interesting in a technological sense also, because...
It's very cool stuff. And,
I think it's interesting, too, that HTC, aren't they mainly a manufacturer of, like, phones and tablets, right?
And I'll tell you this, one of the best phones I ever had was the hand-me-down HTC old phone that Daddy had until it got wet twice and I couldn't fix it. It was still one of the best phones. Right. It was still one of the best phones I've ever owned, and you both know how much of a Samsung girl I am. Excuse me, I'm burping. But I'm really excited about this. It's something that I could see myself, like, saving up for, like, and the roller coaster rides and things like that. And for people that, like, can't...
I imagine would be awesome.
Yeah, like, for people that don't, like, since I don't have the physical ability to walk around in these things, it would feel limitless to me in such a way that no system has allowed before. And although the price point of $800 is expensive, if the Oculus is like $699, might be a little less now.
I think the Oculus is more than that.
I think the Oculus is more than that. I think the Oculus is more than the HTC. I think it's
close to $1,000. I don't think so. I'll trust myself a little more than the two of you, because I'm more into the gaming thing on YouTube, and I've been seeing it for years. And I remember, no, don't roll your eyes. I asked you about it a few years ago, Alex, because I wanted to get it. I thought it was just this, I could just get this thing, but I had no idea how much it cost. So I just thought, with everything that you get and what it offers as a new experience, is completely more worth it than the Sony VR. And another thing, people complain a lot about
Amy is correct. It's a $600 price point on the
Okay, all right, I stand corrected.
people have complained a lot about the Kinect system. I know a lot of people make fun of Wii, but once you get used to Wii, it is really sensitive to your movements. I've never had a problem with it until I get everything all set up. You get used to it. But there's a lot of complaints about the Kinect system and how it really does not have that kind of focus that the Wii even does. It's an add-on to your PlayStation 4. Wii was specifically made for the movement and things like that. So I'm really jazzed about this HTC Vive thing. I think it's the wave of the future for gaming and virtual reality.
I agree, but and yes, this is certainly the way that things are going. Wouldn't sales figures lead us to believe that still where we are now, that controller gaming is still more popular and more lucrative than...
Well, until the price point comes down, or where the price point, or is it if the next gen systems are designed with this in mind, and that price point comes down to, say, it's $500 for a complete system.
Right.
Then
like more within the realm of what a PS4 or an Xbox One would cost.
When when those systems first hit and they're like $500, you know, when the VR system is incorporated into one of those at a base point that would be reasonable for everybody, for a whole new wave. I mean, you just got through the Xbox One.
Right.
Nintendo is about to release a whole new gaming system
platform. Yeah,
that's supposed to be even more high res than the One and the PS4, from what I heard one story. But until then, it's going to be kind of sporadic, and games will be. I think a system like the one Amy presented, the Vive, is probably going to be easier to tap into from the gaming market, because it's going to be standalone and people can develop software just for that, as opposed to having to do, it's got to be through the Microsoft system or the Sony system.
Right.
And the chain of command that goes through to get a game approved through that system is a way longer process. And there are a lot of independent gamers, game designers coming out.
And not only coming out, but the thing that I've learned through the YouTube gamers that I watch that are there all the time, which is why, I was really bummed about not being able to join Steam. And when you go on the Vive website, one of their sponsors, and in conjunction with them, is Steam as a gaming community has hundreds and hundreds of developers, and we also forget that PC gaming is still a huge
chunk of that
industry.
Yep.
People still strictly play PC games. The res and the stuff that you can get from PC games is only limited to what you either build or buy as your computer system. You don't have to rely whatsoever on any gaming system. You can go in between games that are not available for gaming systems, and then you can also plug in any gamepad into a computer keyboard. So that's why I think Steam is also a partner with them, because there's going to be games that you will never, ever be able to see.
Their interest. This platform serves their interest. It makes complete sense that Steam.
Absolutely. So
believe me,
I didn't want to skip it. I didn't want to skip it another week, especially because it's piggybacking on.
That's fine. Like, I figured that we were going to get to that regardless.
I knew that you guys didn't.
I think we hold any other headlines. Maybe next week's show is a much more. I think
streamlined.
It'll be Alex's turn for the challenge for next week. So
right.
Maybe we do the week after that we take a break from doing a war per se, and we really make it a full-blown geek headline kind of show. Because
so why don't we just go into war now? Why don't we make that our geekiest thing for now, since we spent time on it?
It was a good
I thought it was good to just. I just wanted to finally get it out there and not let it keep going weeks on end, and then it's completely old news. And I thought it was more relevant to bring it up today, since Sony did announce their VR system for the ridiculous price of $400 with nothing.
Yeah.
With nothing. You literally get...
You have to have
you get the headset.
Yeah, the headset.
You get the headset. So if you don't have the Kinect system and the Kinect camera, you can't play it anyway. And if you don't have a PS4, you can't play it. Meanwhile, at a base price of $79.99 that you get everything that you get with the Vive HTC... $799.
Cool.
I think that it's...
Good selection of a topic to choose, my sister.
Agreed.
So were you guys impressed when he pulled out that, I mean, wasn't that impressive?
That was
really cool to see the expansion of that robot and to see the different pieces and stuff. I have not experienced one of these things yet. I'm dying to try one of these things.
And the thing what he was doing there that we didn't get to is to fix it, so you can get into every intricate thing. One of the things he said, there's like a copper piece, and he's like, even the pieces of copper has a sheen to them that looks exactly like copper. If you guys, for shits and giggles, want to go back to the Jacksepticeye channel at any time, he has 3 other videos using HTC to show you different types of games that are out there. So just for your own enjoyment, if you want to see other things that it can do, you can go to Jacksepticeye on YouTube and watch, he has 3 right now, videos using the HTC system. And it's just amazing. From the silly to something called Windlands when you're flying, it's very interesting stuff.
Cool.
All right, let's get down to
this war. It was Amy's turn to create the war between us, and her topic of choice was...
Oh boy, this was a bad idea.
Top 3 movie soundtracks.
This was a bad idea. For me personally, meaning it became, the minute I started thinking about it, I regretted it.
I have a feeling that I'm going to incite some booze with how I got my 3 set up, but who wants to go first? How do we want to set this up?
It's up to Justin.
I would say the initiator starts.
Okay. So
oh my gosh.
You.
But
dear sister.
Can we skip? No, I'm going to skip me. Wait, no, I'm going to pass because I started the news of the day, the topical topic. So I don't think it's right. I've been yammering on. So let's go to Alex. I will pass it to the baby of the family.
So I realized, in retrospect,
that's why I said
last week's episode, how very
big brother, big sister, sibling stuff going on.
Oh my God! Yeah, I missed it. So
I got you.
Both of you. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, pay attention.
Anyways,
that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing this.
This is why I'm doing this. So there you go. And watching last week's episode, it was a stupid question, but when I really sat down to think about, like, what, to me it had to be, I think about music in film. What makes music in film connect to a viewer? What makes music in film connect as a listener? What, is it something that you see you see happen, or you see a scene and the music evokes an emotion? Or is it something where, because I've had this phenomenon happen plenty of times, where I'll be in a particular environment and a song that from a movie soundtrack will come on, and instantly I will be sent to whatever scene or whatever world that film came from. You talk about
I think it's all those things for you personally.
So I broke it down, my top 3, sort of categorically, because I couldn't separate. It was hard for me to separate. So the first one that I went with was more along the lines of soundtracking, meaning that some creative entity took other artistic material, songs by other people, and composed them in a manner and an order that really sets a film up. prime examples, Scorsese and Tarantino films. The way that they set up those soundtracks, the songs that they selected for those types of movies. You talk about listening to the Reservoir Dogs soundtrack record CD or the Pulp Fiction soundtrack record CD or something. CD. But no, like how many films can you say? I've got the soundtrack from the fucking Timeline movie, and I'm just gonna stick it in my car. These were compilations and works of art when put together, stand alone on their own, and that to me it deserves recognition in its own right. And it's going to be lame, and it's going to be a cop-out, but when I think of types of movies...
It's not going to be lame. I think that we can allow for honorable mentions as music lovers. As music lovers, I knew that no one was just going to have 1, 2, 3 without talking about other stuff.
It was going to be impossible.
No, I have 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow. Well, kudos to you, dear brother, I got to say.
Well, no, that was the pick. It was pick 3.
It was. But that's why I'm saying it was a mistake. I couldn't even do it myself. So I'm proud of you.
I'm looking at my 3, but when Alex mentioned Scorsese, I realized I forgot Scorsese.
Right. See?
And I'm like, fuck.
Mine was like opening a can of fucking worms. Yeah. I have 1, 2, 3 up here, but like everything else written below it is still music. So it's like it just was.
What's your list, Alex?
So of those, for me, the Goodfellas soundtrack, because I can't listen to those songs anymore and not picture those scenes from that movie. As Can't You Hear Me Knocking is playing, I'm watching Ray Liotta drive his fucking car and almost get in a fucking accident. As the piano solo to Layla plays, I can't help but watch as that frozen meat truck door opens and there's a dead guy. Hey, like my brain cannot disassociate. And it's just every song that's set up in that to me is like an artwork. So that's my honorable mentions there obviously include Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Also, Do the Right Thing for that kind of a soundtrack came up. See, you think about those types of categories and it gets all sorts of fucked up. So The Departed, another Scorsese one for me with the Rolling Stones music thrown in there and everything. My second category was specifically orchestral score. Because you think about big dramatic movies, you think about, how those big orchestral pieces are composed. It's not like somebody sat down with, like, not to discredit any other forms, but if it was a rock group or a jazz group or anything like that, these are big orchestral symphonic pieces. Right. And the one that stands out to me is just, you listen to it, it's undeniable, and it evokes such ethos to me as Howard Shore's Lord of the Rings. The orchestral score in that series of movies is so standout good for evoking that particular mise-en-scène that they had to fucking rip it off in The Hobbit.
Mise-en-scène.
They had to rip it off.
I am from France.
Had like a
I grew up in Europe.
Yeah.
Look at my French.
I speak French.
Honorable mentions in that regard are, obviously, this wouldn't be Sib Wars if I didn't mention John Williams' Star Wars score. That is legendary. That was really hard for me to just ignore that. Also,
that's an honorable mention for you?
For sure. In that category, absolutely. Because you think about, somebody was talking about, well, what about Close Encounters of the Third Kind? And that's a great one, too. But it's like, until Star Wars, John Williams, to me, was not, in the history of John Williams, that's when he became like, oh, you have to get his score because he's the best in the business. Star Wars, to me, establishes John Williams as that. And it's legendary.
Okay. All right.
Also, collectively, the Hans Zimmer, because they all sound the same, but they're all good. And then my last one was strictly based on musicals, because you have to think about...
I'm so confused. So are the ones that you've mentioned your 3, 2, and now you're going to your number 1?
No. Okay,
you didn't make it clear.
He picked 3 categories and 1 top in each category.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it
my first category was soundtracking, taking others' music and using it in your film. Category 2 was orchestral score, and then category 3 is musicals. And you think about, it may not be as popular in the, in pop culture today, but there was a time where musicals in film was a huge Hollywood blockbusting, era, and it's been a part of my life. I feel like it's been a part of a lot of people's lives. You think about all of any Rodgers and Hammerstein adaptation, any what's the other one I'm thinking of that isn't coming to mind right now? The British guys, Pinafore and
Pants.
Yes, those guys. Gilbert and Sullivan. Or anything like that. And I have a lot of honorable mentions with that. My pick is The Sound of Music. Because you think about a soundtrack that has lasted as long.
With the sound of Christmas.
You know that there are, you look to a Broadway, to a film, and most people would argue in that regard that Broadway is better, but I feel like The Sound of Music stands up against that argument. Those are my three. There you go. So, no order. Goodfellas.
No, that is okay. Look,
I
understand. Look, I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
I agree that I was a bit of a cop out, but in my opinion, you were a total fucking cop out because you still did not even give your top three personal for you. You gave your number one in each category as you decided.
Because I would say that each one of those. That's the point of it.
It's supposed to be hard.
I would say that I would say that those are in my top 5. But I couldn't break it down and say each scored soundtrack whatever is the same. It's not to me. They become.
To me, you've given us no insight into. You ended on Sound of Music. So, fine, we'll let that go. Alex ends on Sound of fucking Music for his best all-time favorite. So Sound of Music is your
all-time favorite.
It is now because
he couldn't do it. No, Amy, he couldn't do it.
No, but I'm just saying.
He's going to get all pissy. Look, he's getting all pissy.
What do you want me to defend? You want me to stand up here and say, this is my number one, and these are the things that I make all kinds of things, and I was trying to...
Yes, some kind of commitment. But I'm just saying, it will be on record for the rest of your life that I'm just saying, it will be on record on the interwebs for the rest of your life. That you ended.
Be my favorite
That you ended number one with Sound of Fucking Music.
Yep, that's gonna be my.
Justin?
Codfish ball.
Yeah. Can we move on here?
Can we move on?
If there was anyone that dodged the assignment more than me, it's you.
I prefaced it by saying that it was a cop out, and that you admitted to doing the same thing. So I don't particularly care.
Now, I picked my 1, 2, and 3 no matter how hard it was.
I'm sorry. Here's my top 3. This is the shit that I really stand by. You want me to go back and just change what I had prepared for tonight's episode?
No!
I'll fucking do that.
Stop.
Yeah, man, stop.
You know what? I'm going to stop this because you're getting to be a baby about it. The whole point of it.
Don't make me pull...
Wars.
Don't make me pull this broadcast over.
I'm done. I'm ready to move on. If you guys want to keep ribbing on me all fucking night, I'll stay up all night. No problem.
Oh my goodness.
No problem at all.
Okay, Mark.
This is the best.
No problem.
I think this might be the best quintessential of why we started Sib Wars, Sib War, because here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Amy. Cop out number 2.
Cop out number 2, which I will admit to, but I did pick my top 3. So I will start off.
Hold on. Smile, you punk.
There you go.
Do my young me smile for the rest of the show.
What is that?
My young me smile.
Oh.
But I didn't know how to smile. I'm going to do that for the rest of the show.
No wonder why Mom always kept yelling at you like, Alex, what are you doing?
All right, go.
All right, I'm going to start with my honorable mentions, and I will say that this happened because I could not be as great as our greatest and eldest sibling, Justin, who was able to do 1, 2, and 3 cut and dry, which was the true assignment. So I am, again, the Jan in the middle because I am not doing as shitty as Alex did, but not doing as well as Justin's about to do. So I will definitely take the Jan.
Just tell the frickin' songs of the
Okay. My lowest on honorable mentions might be a movie you've never seen or watched, which is SLC Punk, Salt Lake City Punk.
I have seen that movie.
Okay. Great fucking soundtrack. My other honorable mention had to go to any John Hughes movie that was ever created because music was a huge part of his identity within those movies. The two that, for me, stuck out the most, of course, is Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink was one of the first movies or soundtracks of anything that introduced me to new wave music. I will also give honorable mention to Empire Records, another indie movie. I'm not sure if people have seen or heard that soundtrack.
Good,
and if you grew up in the 90s, of course, there's plenty to love on Empire Records. And my last two honorable mentions are, of course, Quentin Tarantino movies, which I consider Kill Bill 1 and 2. Look, I'm doing better. I got my 3. Kill Bill 1 and 2, I consider one thing because they're back-to-back, and Pulp Fiction, again, back-to-back, and I agree with Alex 100%. It was really hard for me when it came to Quentin Tarantino movies because Quentin Tarantino movies are not only just movies, but the soundtrack is completely based on... Don't snap at me.
I was snapping my knuckles, bitch.
Oh, fuck you, motherfucker. English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
I thought I was the
language.
Oh, give me a break. Okay, so here are my number 3. And I say and my last honorable mention was Purple Rain. Prince, Purple Rain.
Purple Rain. Okay.
That was the first real movie that I saw that on my teen tour. First movie I ever saw with a real sex scene in it, and some of the greatest rock and roll music on any soundtrack. Stands Alone, When Doves Cry, Purple Rain, Sexy Nikki. I mean, just goes on and on.
Darling Nikki.
Thank you. Drinking, drunk.
True.
Drinking, drunk. So Purple Rain was my honorable mention. Purple Rain. Now, top the number 3 is original Star Wars 1977, because it kicked off an entire lifetime of music for people that were probably never even exposed to orchestral music, even maybe, that opened them up. And it's also something so visceral that the second you hear those first couple of notes, you know, from the main soundtrack, from the main theme of Star Wars 1977, you know, and it kicked off everything for you. Yes, Alex, I see your hand.
Fun fact about that exact phenomenon that you just said, I don't remember where I heard if it was like on NPR or on a Kev Smith podcast, but they actually did a test where they played the first 3-4 seconds of an opening I can't remember if it was track or scene, and Star Wars, every single person that they did, everyone was able to say it was Star Wars from the first chord alone.
Yeah.
Just the ba. That's it. That's all they did. And everybody knew.
Yeah.
That would be great on Name That Tune. Can you imagine? That's way before a lot of
one beat
people's times out there. Yeah, one beat. I can name that song in one note.
One note.
Right. It's one note. So my tie
your number three was Star Wars.
Tied with Lord of the Rings. So I'm right there with Alex. So my number
Okay.
My number 3s are Star Wars Original 1977, also Lord of the Rings, and I gave it to all 3 just as a whole again.
Right.
My number 2 is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Wow. Okay.
It is, for people that have never seen it, I was introduced to the soundtrack before I ever saw the movie. A lot of my Broadway baby stuff happened that way. Mom and Dad gave me albums of Annie and Fiddler on the Roof and A Chorus Line. So I had all of these Broadway plays on vinyl that I never saw, but I listened to first. Mm-hmm. And later, when Dad met Jean, and I knew nothing about Rocky Horror Picture Show until Daddy did meet Jean, and she had the CD in her car on a constant basis, and that introduced me to Rocky Horror before I ever saw the movie. And standalone, if you never see the movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show is an incredible soundtrack, incredible singers, great songs. It tells the story of the movie. You get the gist of it without ever having to see a blip of anything on a screen visually. You know exactly what's going on, and the music is good, and it's pure rock and roll, and it's Tim Curry, and it's fucking Meatloaf and Susan Sarandon, and just all in all great. My tie with 2 was Grease. I won't go into why. We don't have to say it. My number 1 is Reservoir Dogs by Mr. Quentin Tarantino, which is why I did not mention him in honorable mentions. I don't know. I know to an extent Alex knows part of the reason why. I think I've mentioned it once or twice. But what Alex was talking about, and when you hear things, and it definitely takes you to a scene in the movie. However, my freshman year of college, I did a lot of drugs, and there was a...
Drugs are bad, kids. Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad, but fun if safe. But drugs are bad. But my freshman year at Franklin Pierce in New Hampshire, when I was introduced to Reservoir Dogs, I literally had a mescaline trip that followed me around, and I experienced that soundtrack in my mind to a T, and it followed me where I went that night. Different parts of the song happened at different parts of the soundtrack happened at different parts of the night, where it was very popular at the time. I believe Reservoir Dogs was released, 92?
I think it's 92.
Can someone look that up? Who has more of the ability than I do at the moment? So it was huge at the time on the campus of 1,500, hippies all together.
1992.
Go me! That was off the top of my head. So by the time I got there, going from late 93 into early 94, it was all over campus. So I had a night of craziness, and there was, especially Stuck in the Middle with You, I was literally tripping my face on mescaline, sitting at the top of a staircase between 2 people, wondering how I would get down the stairs. And
whose ear you would cut off first.
Exactly. So it's like, I think as a whole, the director does the best of both lyrically and musically. Kill Bill 1 and 2 wouldn't be the movies that they are without the soundtracks that they are. Reservoir Dogs wouldn't be the movie. Pulp Fiction wouldn't be. I used to play that. That has a special place in my heart because Jungle Boogie was one of the first songs that Alex, as a little baby, would dance to. Yeah. He would come from his room and hear me playing. One of my favorite
songs of all time.
Yeah, see? And he would hear me blasting, coming home from college, putting Pulp Fiction into my CD player in my room. And when Jungle Boogie came on, Alex would inadvertently, however he got there, one way or the other, end up in my room, and the 2 of us, or I would go into his room once it was on when I came home, and the 2 of us would dance to Jungle Boogie. And it's just, Quentin Tarantino has this way of doing that better than anything. So for personal reasons, I had to pick Reservoir Dogs for that initial, for that experience of everything to go with it. But as a whole, I think I would pick Quentin Tarantino, and that is my cop-out.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I had some good ones in there. That's what I meant. I felt like I was opening a can of worms. One thing would lead to another.
And you know what? As I've sat here and listened to both of you talk about stuff, I definitely realized that I forgot a bunch of stuff. And while I'm sticking by the,
I forgot about Rocky Horror Picture Show. I feel terrible.
Especially because of your mother.
Exactly, especially because of my mother.
I mean, the one that popped into my head that I can't realize that I forgot, Amy, was Grease.
Yeah, Grease.
Grease was one of the first movies I can remember seeing as a kid.
We went to the drive-through. That was my first movie. Period.
Yeah.
That was my first movie. I remember being in the playground, and they had a playground at the drive-in where we were, and Justin and I were on that, what's that? I don't know what they would call
thing, like a merry-go-round.
Like a merry-go-round.
Yeah, like the merry-go-round of death when your older brother is like, all right, 3-year-old Amy, hang on, and boom, it's like, But as a memory, it was Mom and Dad and Justin and I, and that was my first movie. I was 3 years old, and Grease is just one of those soundtracks. You hear one note, one song, one lyric. You know exactly where it
Grease
is
the
in
word,
the movie.
right?
Grease is the word. That opening Frankie Valli song, it's burned into my brain. The other thing that I can't believe that I forgot, and Alex was the one who brought him up, was Scorsese. Goodfellas you mentioned, Departed you mentioned. The one you didn't mention is Casino.
Casino. Yeah, and I didn't want to say that while he was talking, but the second he mentioned that,
anytime that cream song Swabler comes on, or not Swabler, whatever it is.
And he uses the
I
Stones
see Joe Pesci switching between 9 different Cadillacs to get out of Las Vegas.
And then there's a couple of Stone songs in that one too.
Yeah. And speaking of Stone songs, one of the best ending, I love I didn't mention it, but I do love the Interview with the Vampire soundtrack. And Stone songs, one of the best ending songs is Guns N' Roses covering the Rolling Stones in the end scene of Interview with the Vampire. And that is just like perfection. You couldn't have thought of a better band at the time to cover it. The placement and the words of what that song is saying as Tom Cruise is turning back into the Lestat of old. So
right.
All right. So I'm gonna go through my top 3.
Okay.
And I don't have any honorable mentions. Like I just talked about, there's lots that I left off the list.
You did the assignment correctly.
Yeah.
So you're going to be probably surprised with my number 3. But my number 3 is the Almost Famous soundtrack.
I was thinking about that one
happening.
That when I was going through Scorsese and Tarantino, I was thinking about. They got Zeppelin to give them. They got the rights from Zeppelin.
That was the first movie that Zeppelin. That was the first movie. No, that's not true.
No, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh.
Has Cashmere in it.
Okay.
I wonder why it was made such a big deal when it came out.
I haven't researched that, but I do know. I mean, Fast Times is Burned, which is also a Cameron Crowe movie.
Right. Oh, maybe they're just like
there was a very big deal made when
there was a very big deal made about the
Alex wouldn't know this and millennials would not know this, but explain, Justin, as to why for those watching that would not know.
Well, it's very expensive to get certain bands to get songs into your movies, and Led Zeppelin for a long time had not done anything. The reason I would assume that it's the volume of Led Zeppelin songs that are in that film.
Maybe that's why.
If you buy the soundtrack, the only one that's on the soundtrack is That's the Way.
Yes.
Like on the physical soundtrack. If you buy the soundtrack to the album, it's not a double CD soundtrack.
Right.
But in the movie itself, there is also the Rain song, Bon Voyeur, Tangerine, and Misty Mountain Hop, which are just like 3 of those are 2 of my favorite,
Zeppelin
42.
songs.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, a bunch of those are my favorite Zeppelin songs.
Right.
But
and that would have, and if you included all of those on the soundtrack, it would have taken up half the fucking time of a soundtrack.
Right. So I was born in the wrong era. I should have been born in the early 60s so that I could have grown up as a teenager in the 70s, so that this music, because this music that's in this movie speaks to me in so many, I mean, it hits all of my points. It's Zeppelin, it's Skinner, it's the Allman Brothers, it's the Beach Boys, it's Yes, it's Simon and Garfunkel, and David Bowie, and Lou Reed, and for me, like, that covers the breadth of all of my music.
I feel so guilty. I feel terrible that I forgot that even as an honorable fucking mention. That's one of my favorite movies, too.
And I love that movie. It's just, I love Cameron Crowe films. All of his movies speak to me in a very personal way. That one, Fast Times, was like one of my first R-rated movies. And, you know, I love Cameron Crowe films. Just love Cameron Crowe films. My number 2 is Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I think excellent that choice. Of all of those, to what Alex was saying, and Almost Famous falls in the same category. That it's somebody who is using, you know, is finding the words and sounds of other people to emphasize and to punctuate and give life to scenes and to words, and people who can do that are artists in a whole nother headspace. It's kind of like if either of you, have ever seen High Fidelity.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was more of a guy's movie, but I actually saw it in the theater. I saw it in the theater. I went to see it in the theater.
Because I love that.
You never saw that, Alex?
No, I have seen it.
Because
I didn't see it in the theater, but
because I am that character.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
That John Cusack is me. I am that character in that book, in that movie.
That's pretty true.
Totally true.
So and speaking of which, Say Anything has an amazing soundtrack, too.
I thought about that one, too. That was on my list.
Everything about the way Tarantino constructs his movies, he's thinking not just visually, but audibly. And the flow of music in and out of that film is phenomenal. I don't care what part that movie is on. If I'm flipping around the television and it's on, I will watch it from the point that I come in to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just for me, and the music in that film, Jungle Boogie's in that, Let's Stay Together, Son of a Preacher Man, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. It's a Neil Diamond song, but it's done by Urge Overkill, and the fact that that's that part where she ends up ODing, and that's where it begins.
That OD scene, that needle and the heart scene is still one of the. Every time that scene comes on, I'm like, he's gonna stab her. He's gonna stab her.
And then my number 1 soundtrack of all time is Star Wars, Episode 4, The New Hope.
There you go.
Oh, really? Going with Jedi.
No, Episode 4. Episode 4,
New Hope.
A New Hope.
1. Yeah. So okay, yeah. I get backwards.
No, so it's the first movie. It's the second movie I can remember seeing. And so visual.
What's your first movie you remember seeing?
Disney's Robin Hood.
Oh, okay.
The one with the fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Richard Harris is
and that's my all-time favorite Disney film, but that's a whole separate discussion.
Yeah.
And you saw that in the movie theater?
Oh.
Star Wars, yeah. But
just gave me a good category idea.
Not Star Wars.
Yes, the Disney movie.
Robin Hood.
Yes, I can remember seeing Robin Hood in the movie theater. So Star Wars, to Alex's point about John Williams, and everyone knows that first opening trumpet flare or French horn flare, whatever that is. And, to this day, while I loved Force Awakens, the thing I missed more than anything was the Fox fanfare at the beginning of the film, that was gone. But that Star Wars soundtrack to this day, I own it on CD. I owned it on vinyl when we were kids. To me, it's everything what a movie soundtrack should be. Like from an orchestra, if we're gonna go orchestral,
yes,
it ebbs and flows with emotion. It gives you, when that Imperial March happens, bad shit's coming. When you have that light, airy thing, it's Leia's theme. Everything has a specific place and a timing, and John Williams is a master when it comes to that. And that film, to this day, and that sound evokes joy in me, which is hard to come by. And that true joy to from a note of music, like we were saying before. Everyone hears that first note, and and I hear that music, and it brings a smile to my face, because it's now what year was that? 77.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming up on 40 years since that movie came out, and it's burned into my being. It's the reason for this podcast. It's the reason for my love of that entire universe. Mm-hmm. Not just Star Wars, but everything. My key point in life is that freaking movie. It's like, it's like Kev Smith.
Your touchstone.
It's my touchstone. Movie is my touchstone.
Yes.
I'm not as crazy about it as when people completely shit all over the
can get.
Yeah. But that movie, if that movie didn't happen, maybe something else would have been that point. But that movie is key to who I am. It's key to I'm bringing my sons up in that world, and they love those films, and they love that world, and they love that stuff. And I just don't know what I would do without that music. I have it on my phone all the time. Mm-hmm. There's Star Wars, And
I think it's that score in particular is so remarkable because it has essentially remained untouched. A couple little additions here and there for new movies and whatnot, but the themes are all very thematic. They're all, there aren't many.
The themes are thematic. Yes.
No. That's not what I meant to say. That's not what
Is that wait? So we can have topical topics and thematical themes?
No, the themes are I meant to say that
that made me snort.
You still have the same Imperial March now.
I'm writing down thematical themes.
Thematic themes, there you go. And it's hard to do. It's hard to create something that can last as long, and it is so connected to the universe, like you said. Not saying that the movie couldn't stand alone on its own without the soundtrack. It's a very hard thing to say because it's impossible to really make that happen, but it's such a part of it. You can't, ignore how strong of an impact the music by itself has on you as a viewer, as a listener, as a member of the fandom, as a part of the universe.
Yeah.
As a member of the human race. I'm sorry. It's like at this point, it's like growing up,
Star Wars at this point is ubiquitous as Coca-Cola.
This would be a great topic to bring up for another episode, but have you guys ever met any outliers? Because I have. I've met people who are just like, Star Wars, don't get it, never seen it, don't care.
No, I have friends who are Star Wars.
It boggles my mind anytime.
I'm glad I've never run into one of those because I don't know what I'd say.
No, I know quite a few people who are not aficionados of the genre in general.
Yeah. They group Star Wars in.
I think speaking about in general, that was a good war. I think that everybody picked up on stuff. I'm glad that I didn't puss out and not mention my honorable mentions since it brought up stuff for other people. And Alex, I'm glad you met.
Yeah, I will admit I do feel like a puss. That I didn't just pick
you ended with the sound of music.
The sound of music, and I didn't just pick a one. Like if I were to go back and revise the one thing, I would still keep the 3, but I would go out and say like this is my all-time Number
Can you
one.
pick an all-time now after discussing this?
It's hard to have it not be affected by everything that we've just discussed in the past, however long it's been. But I mean, Almost Famous is right there. I really am trying to think of all
and
the
it's
things.
funny that you didn't even have that on, like,
no, I know,
a list.
It's like if I were to go through the three that I chose them for that specific. I felt like they were the best at putting that particular thing. But as far as a connection to me, like for you, how long had it been that the two of you specifically had been getting on me? You have to watch this movie. You have to watch this movie. You have to fucking watch this movie. Yeah.
Almost Famous. When I had kept hearing that he didn't see it, I was just like, what is wrong with you?
And when I finally, just sat down and was staying at our cousin Rob and his wife Kim's apartment in Boston, and they were Rob took the movie out of his bookshelf, handed it to me, and said, just sit down and fucking watch it already. So, I couldn't.
Honorable mention to Bobby Zach.
Yeah.
So.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're telling me that last year was the first time you finally saw that movie?
Yes.
Yes, Justin. I was bothering him.
This might have to be just Amy and I from now on.
Justin, I was bothering him for years. Years, Justin, of me saying, I don't understand, as a music lover, how you haven't seen this movie yet. I don't get it. There was no excuse. It wasn't like he was like 15
so it's not like it was some Thank you. I never do this, but I will say that and I don't like even using these terms, but I will for this context. The Gen Xers that I work with at work always say they are impressed at my breadth of 80s and 90s knowledge, thanks to you guys. So I will take the hit on having been late to the table with Almost Famous and accept the rest of my fate for what it is. So
okay,
brush your shoulders off, Amy. You done good, kid.
We both done good, yeah.
I remember taking you out in Dad's Camaro, Trans Am, and playing Metallica.
Yeah.
And driving you around in the Trans Am with the top down, blaring Metallica for you when you were like 3.
Good, because I'm glad.
And tell the universe what your eldest child, our eldest nephew Aiden, used to go to sleep listening to.
Anthrax.
Anthrax, yes. Good night, Aiden. Let's put on a little Anthrax for you. Yeah. And that's gonna Anthrax, yes.
So clapping with one hand. What is it? Oh, gosh.
Okay. No falsetto.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think is awesome.
So let's get to wrap up. And
anybody have any last little infos? I think we did well on time. It's only 10 o'clock. Anybody have any last little infos they'd like to throw in there? Anything that caught them this week? They saw, heard?
The only thing I'll quickly add, and then we really need to get Alex to give us his war topic, is that Spielberg and Ford, Indiana Jones 5.
Number 5.
Here's my one issue with it. Harrison, 77 years old.
I was going to say one issue. One issue.
Yeah.
And my quick one was, if anybody read the quick article, since he did not talk very much about it, but it was out there in the ethos that I thought was interesting. I'm trying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to Stephen Delaney or Delaney or however you say, whoever played Stannis Baratheon. Did anybody else see that out there on the interwebs of how much he disliked being part of Game of Thrones? And his basic answer was he did it for the money.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Sure.
Who cares?
I'm just saying he found it bizarre. I do not regret having... Right. Well, that was another thing that I thought... Well, that was another thing that I thought was interesting, was because for a little while, everybody out there, you never saw Brienne of Tarth actually lay the sword down on him, so people were thinking that maybe he doesn't die. but it does come out when he did this interview with a French magazine that we now obviously know 100% that Brienne of Tarth does kill Stannis Baratheon, and he said that it was the most bizarre experience of his career. He says, I do not regret having done Game of Thrones, but I have nothing to say about it. Again, that's what he said. But then I did not understand the series or its success while I was in it. The experience was very bizarre. It slipped through my fingers. For me to like a role, I need to be able to be interested in it, which was really not the case. I was a bit overwhelmed by its events. I couldn't watch much of it anyway. It's too hardcore, too tough for me. It's just too painful.
So are we basically saying that, he's like a butthurt actor who's butthurt because his character got killed off, and he's just spouting all of this vitriol?
I think
he's really genuine. That he's just like.
I think he's being genuine. 100%. It takes balls to come out and say, and speak against, the house of.
My quote of the week was from Ian McShane, who is in the upcoming season.
I saw that quote.
And he's like, it's all just tits and dragons.
Tits and dragons. Who cares? Love it.
And I stayed off the internet, so I don't know if either one of you did, but anything, because I didn't want to risk it, because obviously there was something, a photo, something leaked about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, which, okay, good, that exposes the other villain and what's going on. So I
haven't seen it or seen it.
I stayed away. So I suggest doing the same. Don't look up any leaks.
We're so close to the movie coming out anyways. I mean, No,
but there's obviously a big, huge thing out there that's happening that people don't know about, and this picture was leaked, and now people know, and it's a good thing and a big deal, and I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know. I just was curious if either one of you saw it.
No.
Did not see it.
All right, Alex?
Okay, so my war subject, I really wanted to think about.
Excuse me.
Very nice. I feel like that we have been keeping things in a broad. We're talking about top soundtracks. We're talking about top film adaptations. There are a lot of things to draw off of. You make an opinion, take your stand. So I was gonna break it down a little bit so that that it's not as many choices and options. So.
Okay.
My war that I'd like to hear about when we meet again is favorite all-time number one. There's no best and worst. It's just number one for you. Connects most to you. High school movie. You've got your various 80s and 90s high school movies with their dramas and whatnot, and you could pick from any. It could be from any time point.
Wait, a movie that you were in high school saw, or a movie based around
based around like high school drama.
Okay.
It could be something as surreal and as dark as something like a Donnie Darko. It could be something as standard and stereotypical as Breakfast Club or 16 Candles, but I want to hear your number one favorite and why it is to you.
I don't know if that's
just one.
That's just one. That's why I said that's it.
Just one.
If you want to run up in your honorable mentions, sure, but you are picking your one and you are standing by your one.
I don't know how that's going to happen.
You don't have a choice.
I'm already angry.
You have to make a choice. Don't get angry.
As a John Hughes fan, how can you do this? Like, what do you do? There goes Justin.
If it's a John Hughes movie, you have to pick the one.
How can you? But then how is there a comparison of going? I can't do it.
You don't have a choice.
Like you just said, you have movies like Donnie Darko, Heathers, Jawbreakers, John Hughes movies. How?
You pick the one that connects and speaks the most to you.
All right, Alex. Well, you were the asshole this week. I think I might be the asshole next week.
All right. Listen, I'll wear. Listen, I think I could get the box of Yingling in the fridge and make myself an asshole hat if you like, and we can share it.
Okay.
The asshole.
I have to go watch my
horrible thing.
Go watch your college basketball team.
I love you, kids.
Well, how's Stony Brook doing? Well, that's geeky, sport geeky. What's the score?
They're losing 6-4 right now, so I got to go watch it.
Yeah, go.
All right.
Have a frosty
Islanders. Let's go. Stony Brook. Happy war.
Amy, stay on. Stay on.
There's no staying on once
There's no staying on.
No. Yes, I know, but we're both on Hangouts, and we can have a separate one of these. Yes.
No, once Justin hangs up, since
he's saying stay on, and he'll initiate one with you.
Yes, I just want to talk to you.
Adios.
Okay. Love you. Bye.
Peace out.